to the Comic Schtick Podcast, the podcast where comics are my shtick. My name is Blake T. Wild. You may also know me as Smokey's Videos. And on this week's episode, after a very long hiatus, once again, we are discussing the new DC and Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, among a bunch of other stuff that I just sort of didn't get around to the past couple months. So here we go! But before we do, of course, Destructo Boy! Issues 1 through 3 are on sale right now, everybody. They are fun, action-packed stories. People love them. There are great reviews online. Everybody digs it that gets it. It's a family-friendly comic. All readers can read it as long as they can read. It is about this little robot right here named Destructo Boy who has to work hard and save his giant space station that he lives on from just anything that would deem to terrorize it or try to obliterate it, such as Alpha Cardinal, the evil villain of the first 2 issues, and his conquest of the station. Or Googleplex, the Titanic robot or Googleplex, the Titanic robot built specifically to dethrone Destructo Boy from Zephyrus Station's #1 spot as the top hero. Find out more at etsy.com/shop/BlakeTWild or at the link below or in the video right now. There's another one. It's like blaketwild.etsy.shop or something like that. I can't remember, but it'll be here on the bottom, I guess, or in the description. And check it out. Every issue or every purchase of an issue comes with a free sketch of any character of your choosing. It can be the Flash, it can be Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael, Leonardo. It could be anything. And it will be included in here. Each issue is $9.99 plus whatever shipping and handling is. And that is a good deal for, you know, some kind of independent published work. Because usually they're more expensive than that because it's independent people doing it. But I did the best I could for my people. I cut that part out. So check it out. Issues 1 through 3. If you purchase all 3 issues, you will get 3 sketches included in these books. You can pick 3 things, whatever you want. And I will ship them out to you myself, and you will also get some little buttons that I don't have right here anymore. I don't know where they went. They're little Destructo Boy buttons that I'll toss in there for free. So check it out. Etsy.com/shop/BlakeTWild. Really helps me out. And I don't think I'm going to ever reprint these, so get them while you can. First on today's topic list is Wasp #1, which is very apropos of, you know, what I'm talking about later in the episode. This is by Al Ewing and Cassia Nee, a spiritual sequel to Al Ewing and Tom Riley's Ant-Man series from the last year, which I loved. I thought it was the best thing Marvel was putting out. This one, so far, I've just read the first issue. It's good. I am enjoying it. It's just, my issue stems from Nadia Van Dyne, I think that's her full name. I can't remember. I never cared for Nadia. I didn't like the retcon that Nadia was Hank's first wife's, you know, child, just because, you know, everything leading up to that point, we never heard anything about them, you know, having sex or bearing a child, let alone a child that is then kidnapped by the Red Room for some reason when Nadia is killed. She's like, I'm pretty sure she's gunned down or something, if I remember correctly. I can't remember. She's killed by like a mob or some sort of organized crime syndicate. It's been a while, but I never had any interest in Nadia Van Dyne. I think what did she go by? Maybe Red Wasp or something like that, or Red Hornet. I don't remember what her code name was when she was first introduced. Yeah, my allegiances were always to Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, 2 characters Marvel did barely anything with for almost 15, maybe 20 years. So when Nadia was introduced, I got excited because I saw a new Wasp series, and then I saw that it wasn't Janet, and that Janet really had nothing to do with it. So I didn't read them. I have not read anything about Nadia. I do like their relationship that she and her sort of stepmom have. Like, you know, Nadia and Janet, I guess, is kind of what their relationship is like. Even though, you know, Janet and Hank aren't together anymore, because I think Hank is still fucking a goddamn robot, Ultron human hybrid zombie or whatever the hell they ruin his character towards, which I hope that they retcon or get rid of just in general as soon as possible. But it's fun. Again, I am being introduced to these elements of the story that have been introduced in things that I have not read before, such as, what is it called? The laboratory sort of facility that Nadia works for. Girl, that's what it is. I can't remember what it is, but it's an acronym that is GIRL. Whatever. It's like geniuses, something, something, something. I don't remember. But it seems to be off to an interesting ride. Spoiler alert, if you have not read it, here we go. The main villain is the giant space monster that Janet Van Dyne's father came in contact with and was then killed by, and which Janet and Hank then kill in, I think they're in San Francisco. Pretty sure it's on the Golden Gate Bridge. Go check out my video on Ant-Man and the Wasp Origins video from a couple years back, which is a retelling of that story. But it is that fucking alien that everybody for the past, like, what, 50, 60, 70 years or however long it's been, just thought it was dead, and, you know, it was just a one-off villain. But nope, Al Ewing has brought back this giant globule fucking slug thing that is controlling a, like, dead man's body, and that dead man's body is in turn acting for the creature, who is hiring out supervillains such as Whirlwind and forcing them to attack Janet Van Dyne so that she will look into it. It's very circuitous, this plan. So Whirlwind attacks Janet and Nadia at the labs. They defeat him, and he gives them some cryptic message, and then they start looking into it, which is all the alien's plan, which I think the alien is called, is it Phantasma? No, that's not, wait, is it? No, that's something else. The alien is Pillai. Pillai? Is that right? It's a cosmic creature. Pillai. That's correct. I don't remember who Phantasma is. Phantasma. I'm looking at the fucking, the Marvel wiki page just because I couldn't remember the name. But anyway, Pillai's whole idea here is that it's hiding out in an abandoned warehouse outside of town, and it is waiting for Janet and Nadia, I guess, to solve the mystery, track it down, so it can kill her. Which is interesting, to say the least, I guess. Maybe it's not at full power, it's weakened, it's been weak for however long it's been hanging out here on Earth, I guess. But I'm interested to see where it goes. It has the beautiful covers by Tom Riley, just like the Ant-Man series. And I recommend it. You know, it's only a 4-issue series, so you don't have to get that invested into it. It's a return of one of my favorite Marvel characters, Janet Van Dyne, to actually getting anything in the comics. It's another reason why I love the Ant-Man series so much, is because Hank Pym has not been given anything. But definitely recommend it. Check it out. Now I'm going to briefly discuss the Ant-Man series from the past year, which I did a couple months ago when I was reading them. I think I only discussed the first issue, because that's all that was out at the time, and I loved it. But now I'm going to discuss the next 3, or just the whole series in general, just because it's been a while since I've read them. So, I should have muted my phone. So, the Ant-Man series is a crazy tale of time travel and whatnot. If I remember correctly, the main villain is an Ultron from some series that I didn't read, who is like a time-traveling conqueror, almost like Kang, or Doom the Annihilating Conqueror. But the main villain is this giant monstrous Ultron in the far future, which is where future Ant-Man comes in. He travels back in time. He gets Hank. He gets Eric Grady is in this. And then he gets Scott Lang. All 3 Ant-Men. Well, all 4, I guess, if you count the new guy. Who I love the design for. Fantastic looking design. It's very simple. The helmet's really cool to look at. I pre-ordered the action figure. But yeah, that's really all it boils down to, is future Ant-Man's timeline is getting fucked up by an evil Ultron. So, who else knows how to handle Ultrons than Ant-Man? So he gets all the Ant-Men. And, what else happens? I'm pretty sure I'm missing something integral to the series, but I cannot remember what it is. Something big happens at the very end. I know that for sure, but I can't remember what it is. Go and read it yourself. It's a great fucking series. It is the best thing Marvel has published in the past, like, 6 years. And that's all I'll say about that. Moving on to some comic book publishing news. Vinegar Syndrome, a company known for restoring and remastering shitty B-movies, is now publishing comic books through Vinegar Syndrome Publishing, I believe is what it's called, or publications. There's still not a lot of information out about this yet. They are adapting, I think, an Italian zombie film, I want to say, into comics as like their first foray. There's nothing on whether or not, you know, how they're going to be going forward, if they're doing adaptations, or if they're doing, you know, more original work and people can submit to them. This is all very new, and I don't think much of it has been announced or set up. But hey, I wish them the best. More comic publishers is always a great thing to have. The Bad Batch, Season 2, Episodes 1 through 6 is what it's at now. And I should have gotten a list to look at all of the episodes, just because my terrible memory probably won't remember them properly. Spoiler alert, obviously, for Bad Batch Season 2, 1 through 6. I'll just go down the list, I guess. I didn't make notes about this stuff. Oh, my nose. I didn't make notes, but I'll just discuss sort of each thing. Overall, the Bad Batch is terrible at their job. They are not good. I don't think they have succeeded once in any of the missions they have been sent on this whole season. Which, you know, they're the Bad Batch, so they're bad at it, I guess. But God damn, every time they try to accomplish something, it just does not work out for them at all. Such as the first 2 episodes, where they're going to hijack some of Count Dooku's war chest funds that are being taken off planet by the Empire. And it does not work out well. They almost lose 3 of their members, and they don't get any money, and Tech almost dies, and it's just a shit show. I really enjoyed the Crosshair episode, which was episode 3, so we have not seen him since. Oh, actually, I just realized it's up to episode 8, because my note is out of date. So episode 8 is what I'm talking about. Anyway, Crosshair. His story is very interesting. Can't really say much because we haven't gotten a lot of it, but I want to know what happened to Commander Cody, because Commander Cody is not someone I expected to fall out of line with the Empire. I think pretty much everybody just has assumed for the past nearly 20 years since Revenge of the Sith came out that Commander Cody would just be, you know, a strict fall-in-line soldier, like, you know, good soldiers follow orders, sort of like Crosshair was, or is. you know, like an actual devotee of the Empire, like that clone assassin that we see in a later episode that assassinates several other clones. But no, he either got in contact with Rex and deserted, or there are much more sinister things afoot. Commander Cody has been put in, like, jail, used for some sort of testing, or murdered. Because again, we have not seen anything from the Grand Republic clone forces since Episode 3. Everything since then has been solely on the Bad Batch themselves. Faster, the episode where they go and do that race, I really liked that episode. That was a lot of fun. The weird robot with the backwards turning face was great. It reminded me of, like, Knights of the Old Republic, where there's that swoop race level that you have to accomplish to get off Terrace, or before you get off Terrace, to free Bastila Shan. That was a really fun episode. Nice world building. I enjoyed. Just to see, you know, what's going on in some slummier parts of the universe. Like, what are people getting up to? What are they enjoying to watch besides that weird robot football game that we see on the television of that bar in Episode 2? But I liked it as, you know, world building for the Star Wars universe at this time in its history. Entombed. Which one is that? Oh, yes! That is an insane episode. So this is the episode where there's just a giant fucking mech creature that kills a poor little droid. It's very similar to the Zepho. It's like the whole tomb construction and just aesthetic seems very similar to the Zepho of Jedi Fallen Order. If you've played that game, the Zepho are an ancient race of aliens who sort of take a little bit of inspiration from, like, the Rakata, I guess, of the old Star Wars universe. And they're really into balls, these people. And pressing balls and pushing giant rock balls on those buttons and opening doors that way. But it just seems like something that the Zepho would do, or maybe the Rakatans, who are both ancient species in the Star Wars universe. I do like just how mysterious and weird this episode is. And the design is cool for the giant, whatever you would call it. I guess a mech. It's like a weird giraffe thing. And there are also, like, miniature Xylo Beasts is what a lot of people were calling them. I don't know how true that is. The Xylo Beast was in an episode of the Clone Wars where it's this giant... It's basically Godzilla in the Clone Wars. It's a fucking giant creature who was unearthed on the Dug planet, which is what Sebulba is during the Clone Wars, and then transported back to Coruscant because Mace Windu is really into conservation. Surprisingly. And then it wakes up and can apparently, like, sense Palpatine's evil or something, so it hunts down Palpatine for 2 episodes and then is killed. And then Palpatine is like, oh, clone the creature so we can use its fucking super powerful armor for something. Which I doubt went anywhere because nothing has ever come of that. But apparently there were little Xylo Beasts in this episode. I completely forgot about them. I thought everybody was talking about the giant mech thing when they were talking about a Xylo Beast. I was like, what the fuck are these people saying? It doesn't look anything like this. But no, I'm just dumb. I think my favorite episode so far, though, is episode 6, which is Tribe. And that is the one where Gungi comes back, or Gungi? The little Wookiee Padawan from the Clone Wars, which, the fact that he's alone does not bode well for his other classmates. I hope the Ithorian was the only one that survived other than Gungi. More often than not, though, I'd imagine that those children are all dead. Anyway, Gungi is back, and he's hanging out on a fucking giant robot crime syndicate ship. I say hanging out, he's enslaved. Like all Wookiees are, pretty much. And, we see the the beginning of the destruction of Kashyyyk, which is Trandoshans come in with flamethrowers and shit, and tanks, and they're killing and enslaving Wookiees. They got fucking Wookiee pelts over their shoulders. They're wearing them like little kilts. The Wookiees still are able to live relatively, they're still being hunted down, but they're still able to live in their land and in their houses, because it's not at the point yet. It's only been, I think, like a year maybe since the first episode, or the first season, which is, episode 3. So it's very early on in the Empire's history, which means that they have yet to really forcefully industrialize Kashyyyk and send all the Wookiees into internment camps and start logging and just destroying the planet. So at this time, the Wookiees still have some hope. Their spirits aren't entirely crushed yet. Chewbacca hasn't been enslaved, I'd imagine, and hanging out in some fucking mud pit on a backwater planet where he meets Han Solo. Boba Fett probably doesn't have all those Wookiee braids across his shoulder yet. Things aren't bad. Things aren't good for the Wookiees, but they aren't terrible yet. They aren't as bad as they are gonna get. But yeah, it was a nice episode. I mainly enjoyed it because of Gungi, It's cool to see a crossover character. My little Wookiee boy is thriving, thankfully, I guess, as much as you can. And, of course, the next episode does away with the idea that everybody had that Omega was going to be Force-sensitive. Because, for some reason, ever since the first season, people online have just freaked out that, like, oh my god, Omega is going to be Force-sensitive. Omega, she's part of, like, the cloning shit that's going on in the Mandalorian storyline, and she's gonna have some sort of Force abilities, and it's gonna be this and that and blah blah blah. But the episode opens up with her being like, yeah, I can't meditate like Gungi can, so I'm not Force sensitive, everybody, so get off of that theory line. Or maybe it's just a red herring. Ooh. But finally, the last 2 episodes, interesting enough. Although I guess we're on... What episode are we on? Oh, wait, no, we're on episode 10. No, 9. God, I'm getting so thrown off here. The Clone Conspiracy episodes with Ryu Chuchi, who was a senator in the Clone Wars series, it was good. It was nice to see Rex come back. Depressing to see Echo leave. I was shocked by that. I did not expect Echo to leave with Rex. And this most recent episode felt really weird not having him there. The conspiracy of, the clones and what happens. The Camino bombing. That was interesting. I loved how Palpatine just turns it all around. Ryu Chuchi and, Bail Organa, they think they've pulled one over on Admiral Rampart and the Empire for trying to hide the genocide of Camino. And then they show damning evidence of Imperial cruisers bombarding the planet. And they're like, yeah, we did it. We fucked them up. They aren't getting away with this. Blah, blah, blah. And then Palpatine comes up like a fucking wrestler. Like the lights all dim and his music's blaring as he's coming out of his entrance. And he just says, the clones clearly have, they follow orders to a T, which is why they disrupted and destroyed Camino. They should have known it was wrong to do, which is why I am enacting the Stormtrooper plan. And then Ryu Chuchi and Omega and Bail Organa just die inside. Because everything they just worked so hard to do, the Bad Batch, this is the only time that the Bad Batch have succeeded in their mission, is stealing those records from Admiral Rampart's ship of Camino being destroyed. The one time that they succeed, it goes on to failure. So even then, they aren't making it very well. And the most recent episode is The Crossing, where the team are sent to some random planet to extract ores from a mine that Sid, their, like, underground boss, bought. And I cannot wait for them to get rid of Sid. She is just such a piece of shit. And I hate her. I don't want her on the show anymore. I don't like her. She's a terrible person. It's a very abusive relationship they're in, but as of now, they still have to stick with her. Anyway, their ship gets stolen, and they get trapped in a mine shaft. And it's nice character growth moments for Omega and Tech specifically. Tech, you know, he's very... I've seen people say neurodivergent, I guess, or, like, you know, on the spectrum. So the whole thing of the episode, the conflict, I guess, between the team is that Omega is really upset that Echo is gone. And Tech is very blunt and matter of fact. He's like, well, you know, the Bad Batch, the team, it existed before Echo left, or it existed before Echo was here, and it's going to exist after he's gone. So I don't see what the big issue is, you know, stuff like that. And it culminates with Echo and Omega, with Omega falling in a chasm, and Echo, Tech having to save her. And he does so, and then, you know, they're sitting there waiting to be rescued, and he tells her that, you know, I think differently, and I don't react the same as everybody else, and my emotions are all weird. But that doesn't mean I don't feel things like you. Like, I'm not a fucking robot or something. I still feel sadness, Omega. It's just I don't release it the same way you and everybody else does. Which is, I think, probably the best message so far of the series, you know, for, you know, younger viewers. Because what do the other ones tell you? The government can't be trusted because they'll always institute laws of law and order. What else? Fucking don't try and rob and war criminal because you won't get away with any of the money. And enter an underground speeder bike race because you'll win if you have autism. But as of now, those are all the episodes that have been released. I think there's like 20-something episodes, I want to say. I don't know. But I remember it being quite a lot. What does the first season have? It had about 16. I think the second season has a bit more. But yeah, what do you think of the Bad Batch? I'm personally enjoying this season a lot more than I did the first one. I liked the world building of the first season in terms of like what was going on with the Empire and everything. But I like this one just a little more because it's focusing on the Bad Batch themselves, and I like their costumes. I'll say it. There we go. That's why I like it so much. I like their new costumes, that their armor that they repainted. And speaking of armor, they really need to get Omega her own set of armor. Because she's like she's in the shit with them, and she's just wearing like a tunic and a little helmet and pants and fucking shitty boots. Get her armor. Does no one in this universe sell... Like, there are aliens as big as her. Just buy their armor. Anyway, moving on to something I'm very excited about. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Set in 1969. Nice. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny sees Indiana Jones facing off against Nazis during the time of the space race. Little fun history fact for anybody unaware. Operation Paperclip was a operation held by the U.S. government to take former Nazi scientists after World War II and bring them across the Atlantic to the States and have them work in NASA, for example, and other government institutions and branches of the military. Stealing the top mines. The Soviet Union did it. The UK did it. Pretty much, the winners had their pick of the spoils of the scientific minds behind the Nazis. So that is the basic crux of this. The other basic idea, from what I believe, is that it deals with time travel. The Dial of Destiny time dilation, something, I don't know. My main thing is from a scene in the trailer where there's like a presentation in a class and they show this like weird image on the board, and it looks like something called Die Glock, or the clock, which is a rumor, I guess, a conspiracy theory. There you go, that's the word I was looking for. A Nazi conspiracy theory which held the belief that the Nazis were working on some sort of time travel element, or like some sort of UFO, sort of interdimensional capability ship. Weirdly enough, I never realized this until I looked it up after this trailer came out, but this whole conspiracy theory about the Nazis with the time travel, specifically the one called the clock, or no, it's not the clock, it's the bell. Why am I saying bell? Or why am I saying clock? It's Die Glock, the bell. That's what bell means. Because it's shaped like a fucking bell. It's not shaped like a clock. Although I guess grandfather clocks have bells. Anyway, you know, think of a bell. It's supposed to be shaped like that. It's this giant metal cylinder sort of thing. Bell-shaped, if you will. And you can climb inside of it. It's kind of like the drop pod things that astronauts would come back in. That you would see, like, you know, parachute into the ocean and then get picked up. It's kind of like that. Where it's like, you know, a couple of people can fit inside. Anyway, this conspiracy theory is only like 23 years old. Like, the earliest mention of it is seemingly some guy in 2000 who had been researching a little bit of it for a couple years. But yeah, it's not that old, which is odd. It seems like something that would be. But if I remember correctly, I want to say that I saw some leaks that mentioned or had photos of, you know, Indiana Jones and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, like, in sort of Roman Greek times. Like, they end up on a beach and there's, like, Greek soldiers there or something. And I think that that's what that last scene in the trailer is, where that plane is, like, falling or flying. I can't remember. Maybe somebody's fallen out. But you see, like, an island, and there's a little city, little town ship going on there. So I feel like I'm going to say it right now. Indiana Jones is going to time travel in this movie. I don't know how much, I don't know how long, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's about. And the Dial of Destiny, the dial that they need, is some, like, ancient thing. Maybe it has something to do with, like, the dial is set, or, you know, the dial that they're looking for is what they need to complete the bell, to time travel. They've been working on it since the 40s, and now it's 1969, and they finally uncovered it, the Nazis that are working for NASA. So they go hunting for it. Indiana Jones catches wind of this, he has to go stop them. They're hunting for this ancient fucking stone tablet dial thingy, which I think we see in the trailer. And then, at the end of the film, or near the end, it's going to be revealed that, like, Indiana Jones and everybody else, they time traveled back. Like, the Nazis are fighting, and, you know, Indiana Jones and Phoebe Waller-Bridge are there, and they're fighting, and the dial gets ripped out, and it gets tossed aside, or, like, you know, the dial is a piece of the machine that gets ripped out by somebody, and it's pristine, and it's in great condition, and they toss it away, and it lands back in time, which means that they have to go forward in time again, and that is the same dial. Are you getting what I'm saying here? So, it's a classical paradox. You know, the dial that they find in the ruins is the same dial that they will then rip out of the machine at the end of the film to stop the Nazis from traveling back to the present. I don't know. I sort of lost myself there for a minute, but that is my crazy theory about what is going to happen in this movie. And I'm very excited for it. Another film I'm very excited for is Evil Dead Rise. And the trailer finally came out. It looks awesome. It looks so much better than the 2013 remake. It looks great. Ash vs. Evil Dead is fucking incredible. Go watch all 3 seasons. But Evil Dead Rise. They did not give away that much of the story in the trailer. From what I remember, it's about this woman visiting like her sister or something in the big city. Like the kids or somebody finds the Necronomicon in the basement of this high-rise apartment, and you can see where it goes from here. There's this great Italian horror film called Demons 2, which is essentially this premise. I discussed it way back when I first started talking about Evil Dead Rise. I think that was in the first season of the Comic Schtick show, because I just arbitrarily decided to split it up into seasons. But Demons 2 is a great horror movie. It's a fucking weird fourth wall breaking movie about these demons that come out of a movie VHS tape and inhabit the world that they're in, but it's also sort of metatextual. It's like the tape that the people watch that released the demons is actually another reality, and now that the demons came out of that tape and are in this reality, then the reality of the movie is going to become another tape in a different reality. No, it's shit like that. It's really weird. But the main thing I'm getting at here is that both films involve evil demons taking over and possessing people in a high-rise apartment that they are trapped in. Evil Dead Rise seems like a more serious take on it, because while Demons 2 is still serious, there are some pretty zany, crazy stuff going on. But I am quite excited for this. I am really looking forward to it. It looks gory. The fucking demons, I don't know if they're the Kandarian demons or not, they have personality again. Unlike the shitty 2013 film where they were just stupid-ass Exorcist knockoffs and mindless zombies that didn't interact at all, just wanted to, I'll stab you. They didn't even say that. These ones actually are fucking with the characters. Like, oh, let your mommy in. Let me inside the apartment. I just want to give you a hug. You know, shit like that. They're fucking with the characters, trying to get them to, you know, make them feel like they're losing their minds and whatnot. Like in the original films, they're toying with their food, essentially. And I am very excited for it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, fucking, are you excited for this movie? Because I see a lot of people who aren't. But I also see a lot of people who are. Which you can say about most things. But I am very excited for it. Another thing I'm very excited for, which maybe I shouldn't be, is there is a new Hellboy movie in the works with the working title of Hellboy, The Crooked Man. Brian Taylor is set to direct, while Mike Mignola and Christopher Golden get story credits. So I don't know if that means that Mike Mignola is actually working on the screenplay itself, or if it's just solely going to be like an adaptation of the Crooked Man storyline, and it's like, you know, based off the comic by Mike Mignola, and then Christopher Golden is doing the actual screenwriting. But I'm looking forward to it. More Hellboy is good. I am one of those weird people who actually fairly enjoyed the David Harbour recent Hellboy film. I liked it. I did not enjoy that it was another world-ending threat they had to deal with. And it sounds like this new film is not going to be that. It sounds more smaller in scope, more straight to the point. Just Hellboy doing Hellboy stuff. In and out real quick, you know, just fun, weird, mythological movie. And apparently the film is planning to shoot this April in Bulgaria, so maybe, probably late 2024, maybe? Sometime 2024, 2025 is when it should come out. Okay, here we go. The Last of Us, episodes 1 through 5. Skip this, of course, you know, if you haven't seen it, because I will be spoiling stuff. There's your warning. The Last of Us. I never played the game. I watched playthroughs of it when it first came out 10 years ago, which is insane that it's that old. So, you know, I don't have any real connection to this game, like a lot of people might, so I don't give a shit what's changed and what isn't. But I am loving this show. This is the best show that is airing currently. I felt that episode 3 in particular is one of the best episodes of television I have seen since Breaking Bad came out. You know, since Breaking Bad was airing. That's where I personally rank this show. At least that episode. Something I am disappointed about in this show is that there aren't a lot of flashbacks after, like, the second episode, I think. Because, you know, the whole third episode's one big flashback. But I really like the flashbacks. They were the best part. The opening with John Hannah, who I adore. I love that guy so much. He's amazing in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Holden Radcliffe. He's a fucking great actor. Where it's like, what is it? It's in the, is it the 60s or the 70s? They're doing this, you know, television broadcast show interview sort of thing. And they're talking about global warming. They're talking about fungus. And he's getting laughed at. And he's like, yeah, fungus is what we need to worry about. I really liked that. And I really dug the flashback in the second episode. Also, the flashback of Joel and Ellie and Tommy, you know, before the outbreak and then immediately during the outbreak. That was really great. I honestly didn't expect it to last as long as it did, because it's about a half hour or so of, you know, meeting these characters and setting it all up, which is fantastic. You shouldn't rush that portion of the show. You should not do that. So I really enjoyed everything going on there. Oh my god. The fucking tension being built up in these flashback scenes is superb. And it makes sense because the writer of this show, I'm pretty sure it's the guy who did Chernobyl, which I still have not seen Chernobyl, but I've only heard good things. But it makes me believe that whoever buys the rights to World War Z to make it a television series needs to get this guy, something Manson? Charles Manson? Charles Manson. What the fuck is... Writer of The Last of Us show. Let's see. Let's see what Google says. Craig Mazin. Craig Mazin, I guess. And Neil Druckmann, who was the guy who created the video game. But Craig Mazin, oh my god. If you've never read World War Z, first of all, highly recommended. It's amazing. Second of all, don't watch the movie. Third of all, it takes place like 20-ish years after the zombie apocalypse has happened and was taken care of. And now life is pretty much back to normal. The main character is going around the world and interviewing different people for their experiences, the people who were there and lived through it, for this book he's writing called World War Z. And each chapter or so is just different people's experiences of, you know, during the, like, before the outbreak, after, during, etc. It's a great book. It's by Max Brooks, and I would highly recommend it. But if they ever fucking adapt that to a show, which I cannot believe they haven't done, especially after the insane popularity of The Walking Dead, and now this, how can you not adapt World War Z and get Craig Mazin to write it? Fuck, it's so good. The episode at the beginning with, where is it? It's in Jakarta, of, like, you know, the military coming in, this mycologist, I think is what, I don't know, is that what they're called? The people who study fungi and mushrooms and shit. And then her examining the body. Oh my god, every time they fucking cut into an infected, it is so horrific. Just because they peel, the skin rescinds back, and it's just mushroom and fungus underneath. Ugh. But, oh my god, they're fucking so good. I want to see more of the stuff before the outbreak. Because during those first 2 episodes, when I was watching it, I didn't watch it as it came out, so I binged it a little bit. But every time it cut to the present of 2023, I just lost myself. You know, like, I lost interest. And that's not saying that I was bored or anything by it. It was just, it's so well written that I was so invested in these little chunks of sort of prehistory compared to what our show is at now, that I was disappointed when it cuts to the future, because I wanted to keep seeing what was going to happen to these people, even though, you know, I know what's going to happen to them. But you know, and then once it cuts to the present, the story takes over and I get invested in that. But it was just hard flipping back and forth because I was so interested in both things happening. Of course, something I realized and was like, ooh, I feel smart for noticing this or thinking of this. And then I went online and saw everybody else was talking about it, is that Star Wars Episode 3 never released in this universe. Because I am a giant nerd, if you couldn't tell by some of the posters I have up back here. My main, like, where I base things off of in time is where Star Wars movies are released. So, like, 1977 is when the first Star Wars is released. So I sort of base stuff off of, you know, ooh, I learn about an event. How many years after Star Wars was that? Or how many years before Star Wars was that? So that's something I like to do. So I did the same for this show. I looked it up. Pre-production or principal photography would have just ended by the time that the outbreak had happened. And depending on how long it took the outbreak to actually spread and how long society continued as normal, the last film released in 2003, that's like a widespread big release that they might have gotten, was Jack Black's School of Rock, which came out about a week, maybe a week and a half after the initial outbreak in September 2003. So, School of Rock may have been the last ever movie anybody in this world had ever seen in the theaters. And it also means that it wasn't on home release, so you couldn't watch it there. And of course, nobody ever knew what happened to Episode 3, the best Star Wars prequel. Which makes me wonder what happened to George Lucas in this universe. What else do I have? The de-aging and aging. That is something I fucking just overlooked because I just wasn't thinking about it. But it is fucking insane. They're making Pedro Pascal look nearly 20 years older than he is. And then the flashback scenes, it's like, holy shit, did they de-age him? No, they just took the makeup off. Him and Tess are fucking just insane when you see them in the past to the present. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to talk about Episode 3 because that's my favorite show. My favorite episode. I did not expect to just be sobbing uncontrollably as that episode was occurring. That is such a fucking incredible episode. Nick Offerman and the other guy are fucking superb. Oh my god, it is such a great episode. I don't know. It's just as that episode went on, my just heart was breaking, and I was sobbing, and I'm starting to tear up right now just thinking about it. Like, full on, you know, like that. Like, I was having to wipe away the tears from my face as the episode was continuing. And I feel like part of it has to do with the fact that I just recently got married. So I was like, you know, subconsciously putting myself into Nick Offerman's Bill, the character of Bill, his position, and be like, how would I feel if this was happening to my spouse? And that just made it so much worse and made me cry even harder. And oh my god, I love Bill in this show. Oh, it was such a fucking roller coaster of an episode. It's my favorite one so far, like I said. Bill is just the perfect mirror of Joel. He's an isolated man that refuses to open up to anyone until he finds the one person that gives his life meaning again, or in general, which is just like Joel with Ellie. Because fucking, that's the great thing about this being a television show, is that they're able to last more on the character moments versus the video game. In, you know, such as in this whole episode dedicated to one side character. But seeing Joel's progress of becoming a caretaker, I guess, for Ellie, and, you know, opening up to her, laughing at her dumb pun book that she found, everything like that. It's just so fantastic, and it's perfectly mirrored in episode 3 of what happens. You know, Bill finds... What is his name? What's his husband's name? I can't remember. He finds him, and he slowly... You know, it's all in the letter at the end that Ellie reads out. And even more so, to the point that the letter to Joel is about Tess and not Ellie. And that just really drives the point home and just makes it so fucking hard-hitting. It was such a great episode. I loved it so much. I'd watch it again if I had enough tissues to cover my face with so it doesn't flood with tears. So, you know, they get all their shit from Bill. They steal his porno mags. And then they head to Kansas City. Which I did not realize until this episode came out, and I looked up Kansas City. That Kansas City is in Missouri, partially. It's one of those cities where it's on the border of 2 different states. So there's Kansas City, Missouri, and there's Kansas City, Kansas. I never knew that. Sam and Henry, another heartbreaking tale of woe and just fucking fucked up world that they're living in. I didn't think that Kathleen was as bad as a lot of people were saying. I enjoyed the presence of her and her rebellion of assholes. She was a character that I liked to hate. Or I loved to hate her. Because she's such a piece of shit. She's so selfish in that, you know, there's the scene with her and Perry, who played Joel's brother in the video game. They're like, what are they doing? They're searching for Sam and Henry, who she's just... It's Captain Ahab. It's a goddamn fucking Moby Dick, but in the zombie apocalypse. She is Captain Ahabing this whole city to look for these people who got her brother killed. Even though her brother basically sounds like Jesus. They see the sinkhole, or like they see the floor shifting in this basement. They're like, oh, that's not good. And Perry asks her what she wants to do, and she's like, you fucking put up a sign, tell people not to come in here until we find Sam and goddamn Henry, because I want them killed. I need my vengeance. And as we see, they should not have put off any of that. And it brings to question, would the people of Kansas City still have been there if Fedra was in charge? Because Fedra seemingly was aware of what was going on underneath the surface, because they sent all the infected down there, and now they're bubbling back up. So would they have just left everybody in the quarantine zone, or would they have had the resources and strategy to stay there, either stay there and fortify their city enough to where they wouldn't really have to worry about, or they could, you know, take care of anything that happened? Or would they have evacuated the area until Kathleen's rebellion formed and was then like, yeah, we fucking did it, we're the best, we're in charge, we're awesome, now find that kid and his brother and kill him. Because, you know, that city is dead. The quarantine zone is gone, seemingly. I don't know where they're living at now. I don't know why they didn't just stay in the quarantine zone, because what we see, it looks like it's been abandoned for some reason. Well, though, I guess it's because they cleared out the surface, so there's no more infected. So they're just like, yeah, go live in the neighborhoods and whatever. I didn't really think about that until just now. But that's why the quarantine zone isn't in use. Like, they didn't fucking... They're fucked. Everybody is fucked after that sinkhole opens up and the bloater comes out and starts fucking ripping people's heads apart. And, oh my god, that scene was insane. That felt on the same level of intensity and suspense and anxiety as the opening game of Squid Game. I felt the same feelings and emotion I did then, which was just full-on, like, you know, panic, fight or flight sort of shit going on. if you forgot what the first game of Squid Games is, it's the giant doll lady. What is it? It's red light, green light. And holy shit, just seeing what is happening and fucking just pit in your stomach in both of these scenes was very similar for me. Even more so seeing the infected then run off after any of the survivors who are no doubt driving back to their, city where everybody's living, leading the infected right back to Kansas City. And Kansas City and all those people there are fucked. And of course, Sam and Henry, making him deaf was definitely a good choice. It really added to, the character. Excuse me. Really added to the character, I felt. I liked him more in this than I did the game, which I feel like is happening for pretty much all of the show. But I didn't expect, I thought that they were gonna subvert my expectations. I thought they were gonna let them live, and that, which one's which? Sam's the little brother, I think. I thought Sam wasn't gonna get infected, but he did. And holy shit, does that ending come at you hard, come at you fast. God damn. And of course, this next episode coming out in a couple days is they're in Wyoming now. They find Joel's brother. They got the horse. There's snow. It's just like the video game. And something I did not realize is that this is only a 9-episode season. So there's only 4 episodes left or so. 3 to 4, depending on how accurate that listing was of how many episodes there are. So there might be 8, might be 9. I can't really remember. I'm pretty sure it's 9, though. But they really fucking cut down on time for how long it takes them to travel across the country. Because the first episode they're in Boston, and then they're in Kansas City, Missouri / Kansas. But that is The Last of Us. Again, as with all these topics, what do you think? Fucking just comment along as the episode goes. I think it's the best show on television right now. I don't really watch a whole lot of shows, but I think it's masterclass in how it's done. It's the perfect video game adaptation, beating out the former perfect video game adaptation, which is Angry Birds, the movie. Okay, we're at an hour now, and I am still not at the main crux of this whole episode, which was new DC stuff. So I'm going to go through these little notes a little quicker. Spider-Man Noir live-action series has been announced from Amazon. The untitled series... Really? Untitled? Just call it Spider-Man Noir. Follows an older, grizzled superhero in the 1930s New York City. An individual with knowledge of the project says that the show will be set in its own universe and the main character will not be Peter Parker. This is the second known project based on Sony-controlled Marvel characters at Amazon Prime and MGM+. And it was the other show that they are talking about in that article is Silk Spider Society. Because don't forget, we're getting a Silk show, seemingly with the same girl who played Cindy in the MCU. Oren Uziel will serve as writer and executive producer of the Spider-Man Noir show, and he has worked on The Lost City, which is a film starring Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum, which is phenomenal. It is a great movie. It is so much fun. Oh, it also has Brad Pitt. Almost forgot him. And Daniel Radcliffe is in that film as the villain. Go watch that movie. It is so much fun. It's amazing. Oren also worked on 22 Jump Street, which is another great comedy film, the 2021 Mortal Kombat movie, and Cloverfield Paradox, which out of all those I just listed is obviously the worst one. So hopefully it's more, it's better quality than Cloverfield Paradox. Hitmonkey has been renewed for Season 2 at Hulu, but for some reason it is no longer branded as Marvel. So it's not going to be Marvel's Hitmonkey, it's just going to be Hitmonkey, I guess. Vision Quest. Here's I don't remember if this is a rumor or actual information, because it's been a while since I made these notes. Vision Quest will follow the Vision trying to regain his memory and humanity. Jack Schaefer will oversee the series. And there is also a possibility or a rumored appearance by Elizabeth Olsen to appear as Wanda. If I had to guess, I'd bet it's through some sort of flashback or flashbacks of their time together. Because don't forget, White Vision is still hanging out in the universe somewhere of the MCU. Aubrey Plaza is confirmed to star in Agatha, Coven of Chaos. Will she play a sardonic human, or will she play a sardonic witch? Wait and find out. Owen Wilson will apparently be reprising his role as Agent Mobius in Deadpool 3. This is a rumor, so I don't know how true this is. And he is also apparently set to have a big role in the film. And there's also a rumor that Loki will appear in Deadpool 3, with Ryan Reynolds possibly teasing Miss Minutes via a tweet about the TVA wiping out the Fox universe. Or that's, seemingly what the film's gonna be about. Is that Deadpool fucking around with the timeline in Deadpool 2 is leading to the the Fox X-Men universe getting on the TVA's, they notice it. So they're like, oh shit, Deadpool's fucking around. Remember when he killed baby Hitler? That means that Kang is going to be born in this universe, so we gotta go destroy it. Is that still what they do? I don't know. That was the whole TVA's purpose in the first season of Loki, which is every universe that they would prune was because something happened in that universe that would lead to Kang being born. Nathaniel Richards being born. But, yeah, we really don't know if that's still how it works. Seemingly not anymore. We don't know how the new TVA works in Loki Season 2, because it's not out yet. Studio Ghibli and Lucasfilm are working on a project together. So that's cool. I've never seen a single Studio Ghibli film. I'm not a big fan of anime, but I'll probably check this out because might be Star Wars, might be Monkey Island. I don't know. But what I do know is that something I definitely will be checking out that is Star Wars related is Star Wars Visions Volume 2. If you don't remember or are unfamiliar with Star Wars Visions, it was a Star Wars Disney initiative to have a bunch of different animation companies and studios from around the world make their own episodes of Star Wars. I don't know if there's any sort of what came of it, because I was thinking that there was going to be like a spin-off sort of series based on the most popular episodes, but I don't think that's a thing. The new studios that have been working on new episodes for Volume 2, which is streaming May 4th, 2023, I think, is Cartoon Saloon, Punk Robot, Alito Lacache, Triggerfish 8888 Studio, 8888 Studio, I think, Dart Chateau, Gyuri Studios, and the only one I recognize and am most excited for, Aardman Animation. The people who made Creature Comforts, The Other Creature Comforts, Wallace and Gromit, Flushed Away, are making an episode of Star Wars. Something. That's the cool thing about Star Wars Visions, is that each one is like an individual universe. It's not tied to anything else. It's just Star Wars, but envisioned by this studio. So that's going to be insane to see, especially if they do their trademark animation style. I am very excited. MCU rumors. These are old, obviously, because I've had them sitting in my phone for the past couple months. So I don't know if these are still true. But here are some MCU rumors. So going back to Deadpool 3, it will be a direct follow-up to Deadpool 2. Wade, using Cable's time machine little thingy, will travel into the future to save Wolverine from dying. Logan does not know who Deadpool is, obviously. And so, it's Deadpool continuing to fuck around with the timeline. So I guess after he does all that, after he kills baby Hitler, after he kills Ryan Reynolds before making Green Lantern, what else does he do? He kills himself in X-Men Origins Wolverine. He is then going to go to the future to stop Logan from dying in the film Logan. and doing so puts them on the TVA's radar, and Wolverine has no idea who this guy is, and it's going to be like a buddy comedy road trip sort of thing, I guess. Eternals 2 will be Judgment Day, and it's going to apparently be more cosmic, with Chloe Zhao not attached. So I think Judgment Day? What is Judgment Day? What is the Eternals Judgment Day? Is that recent event that just came out? Or is that an older one? Is that the Neil Gaiman Eternals? It might be the Neil Gaiman Eternals, but I can't remember it all. I am one of the few people who actually like the Eternals, so I am very excited for any prospect of there being a second one. Jessica Chastain is apparently being eyed to play the main villain in Captain America New World Order. Marvel's Wonder Man has casted Yahya Abdul-Mateen II to lead the Disney Plus series. And this is something I wasn't expecting to be as excited about as I am. I think with the release of She-Hulk, and, you know, that's sort of a similar, I feel, tone, possibly, that Wonder Man will have. Because Wonder Man's a silly character. I briefly discussed him a couple months ago, I think. I can't remember. I think I might have a video where I try to talk about who Wonder Man is. He's a cool character, and I wonder if the Wonder Man show, if he's going to be already dead, or if that's going to happen at some point in time. Like, is he going to have already been resurrected and be that weird energy man that he is in the comics? Or is he going to start out as an actor and then get, you know, progressively more weirder and weirder stuff is going to happen to him until he gets the superpowers, and then he dies, and then he comes back? I'm looking forward to it, because it seems it's a fun, interesting concept. Something different. Again, it's a character that is going to have probably more lower stakes, which is what I really liked about the She-Hulk show. But I think it would be fun to cast actors that people love in the show and just have them appear as themselves. Like, oh, it's rumored that Matthew Lillard and Brendan Fraser are going to be appearing in the Wonder Man series. Who could they be playing? And then it's just months and months of people on YouTube and making articles online just be like, oh, well, Brendan Fraser, he could obviously play this character and this character and this character. And when Matthew Lillard, oh, he could play this guy and this guy. And then when the show comes out, it's like one scene with these actors that people love, and it's them at like a casting call or something that Wonder Man is going to, and it's just them playing themselves. And I think that they need to do something like that. Just fun stuff. Just, you know, get real people to expand upon what the film universe of the MCU is like. Maybe in the MCU, Harvey Weinstein doesn't exist. Emma Corrin has been cast in Deadpool 3. People are saying that she could be playing Death. People are also saying that she's going to be a villain. I don't believe she would be playing Death. Death isn't really a villain that much. Although, I guess so, if the whole thing is about Deadpool stopping Wolverine from dying, so maybe she could be playing Death. I want her, and I hope, that she is playing Lady Deadpool. Because you can start Lady Deadpool out as a villain. You know, they go to her dimension, or her, you know, her universe accidentally. She tries to kill him, and then she becomes an anti-hero acquaintance. I also hope that the Deadpool Corps is going to be a thing, since it's the TVA and stuff, multiversal travel and whatnot. Why not introduce the Deadpool Corps, who is composed of Deadpool, Lady Deadpool, Kidpool, Dogpool, sometimes Squirrelpool, and Headpool. The zombified Deadpool who has a little spinny top that on his head that he flies around with. Valeria and Franklin Richards have been rumored to appear in Marvel's Fantastic Four. So that is going to be quite interesting, in that the first film, Reed and Sue are seemingly already married, and they already have kids. So that's going to be an interesting build-up, especially since Doctor Doom is really integral to sort of Valeria Richards as a character. Although, I guess it does make sense for you to have, like, Franklin in it, because he's a mutant, and he has these fucking insane, super powerful powers of reality warping and whatever else he can do. I guess that makes sense to introduce him now. What is this fucking guy doing? I guess that makes sense to introduce him now if they want to go a similar route that they did in the Secret Wars television comic book series, where he's a big part of the end and, like, you know, resetting the universe. If I remember correctly, he is, at least. I know Molecule Man's there doing stuff, but I'm pretty sure Franklin is also a big part of recreating the Marvel Universe after the incursions. Alright, and now we finally get to the new slate of DC films, which have me incredibly excited and overall just very hyped. I now have to go through my phone and find them. Okay, starting it off with something that is very big, apparently. The Batman Part 2 is set to release October 2025 and release as part of the newly rebranded DC Elseworlds project. So I'm going to go through the DC Elseworlds stuff. So currently that is composed of Joker and the Batman, and will also include the Joker 2, Fou le Deux, which we just saw a image released of Joaquin Phoenix as Joker and Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. Batman Part 2, Teen Titans Go, Superman and Lois, which I think is ending sometime soon. So those are what is currently in the DC Elseworlds. In terms of films, we have Shazam releasing March 17th, 2023. That's Shazam! Fury of the Gods, the second trailer of which I finally saw when I went to go see Ant-Man 3, and it doesn't look that impressive to me. I'm not too excited about it. I wish that they would have gone with Mr. Mind as the villain is my main issue with this film. I don't really have any interest in seeing Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren, whoever it is, as like evil gods or whatever. I was hoping it would get a little more weird than that, like the original comics. The Flash, which I am excited for, I'll be honest, is June 16th, 2023. So we have those films, and that is where the universe gets reset, is after The Flash. And the first film of the new DC universe is Blue Beetle, set to release August 18th, 2023. So 2 months later. And finally, rounding it out, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, December 25th, 2023. All those seem quite interesting, and I'm excited for them, obviously. I'll go over the trailers and everything after I go through this, but James Gunn announced that they are doing, instead of phases, these are called chapters. Completely different. And Chapter 1 is called Gods and Monsters. And it will include the animated series Creature Commandos, which includes Frankenstein, G.I. Robot, I think his name is, Lady Frankenstein. Who else is a part of it? Rick Flag Sr., possibly? Dr. Nina Mazursky, who is the fish woman. And Dr. Phosphorus, who is the fireman. And the Weasel. Needless to say, I have never read anything from the Creature Commandos, never particularly sought it out, so I don't know much about them, but it seems fun. There's the Waller live-action series, which James Gunn has announced is what his main focus seemingly is currently, alongside the Superman film, Superman Legacy. But that is the reason that Peacemaker Season 2 is not out yet. And I've recently been rewatching Peacemaker Season 1. Such a great show. I really wish they would just get the sequel series out. But Waller, live-action series, follows Amanda Waller around. Superman Legacy in theaters July 11th, 2025. Superman's finally going to be a nice guy, everybody. I am very thankful that it's seemingly based off of Grant Morrison's Superman. I am tired of the Snyderverse Superman being, even after they tried to make him more in line with who Superman actually is, which is a good person who smiles and is overall happy and just wants to take care of the world and humanity and the people he loves. This version will seemingly actually be that from the get-go. And it'll probably be colorful. And I am so glad that it's not Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill as Superman is great and all, but fuck if his just position in that role wasn't ruined by Zack Snyder. Lanterns, a live-action series starring, I think, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, possibly Guy Gardner. The Authority, which I am excited for. Paradise Lost, a live-action series involving the Themyscira and the Amazons, I would assume. Batman the Brave and the Bold, which is fucking awesome. That is a live-action film based, again, on the Grant Morrison Batman series. Booster Gold, live-action series. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, based on the Tom King story of the same name. And Swamp Thing, based on Alan Moore's run on the series. So here's some interesting notes that I have to discuss. One is The Authority. It comes out after the Superman film. I get the feeling that Superman is going to be introduced, obviously, into this new universe. Then they're going to bring in the Authority. Then they're going to have him fight. It's going to be the famous story, What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way, which sees Manchester Black and his group of cronies, who I can't remember their name. They're like the Supremes or something, because they wouldn't let him use the Authority in this book. But it's essentially, it's Superman versus the Authority. And, that seems like the logical place to go here. Is introduce the Authority, introduce Superman a couple years later, have them face off. Because they're diametrically opposed as much as possible. Superman's on one side of the spectrum, the Authority is on the complete opposite side. And it would be neat to see What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way with the actual Authority group and not a knockoff version. Although, they're great in all the knockoff version. At least Manchester Black is. He's the only character that was really continued with any prominence, I think, in the DC universe. He was recently in the Superman and the Authority series by Grant Morrison. But that is something I'm really interested in seeing. The other is Batman the Brave and the Bold, which is said to introduce Damian Wayne as Robin. I am, again, one of the people who actually likes Damian Wayne as Robin. I think he's a cool character. I think he's neat. I think he's fun. And that will hopefully... The fact that it's called Superman Legacy and that Damian Wayne is introduced in the first Batman film of this new universe makes me hopeful that Super Sons is going to be a thing that occurs in the new DC film catalog. Because how perfect would that be? And then you can have Super Sons, you can have John Kent, Damian Wayne, Blue Beetle's a teenager in this universe. Booster Gold is best friends with Blue Beetle in the comics, which seemingly means that he is going to have to be at least a late teens. I don't remember how old Jaime Reyes is exactly supposed to be, but it would stand to reason that since Booster Gold is in this new film series, or at least as a live-action series, but they want it to all be tied together, that he is going to be around the same age as Blue Beetle, which means late teens, early 20s. I can see them leading maybe a new, like, a Teen Titans event or, film or series with Blue Beetle, Booster Gold. Donna Troy is probably going to be introduced in the Paradise Lost Amazonian show. You can bring her into this. Supergirl, probably not. I imagine she's going to be around the same age as Clark. That's about it so far that I can see. What else do I have to talk about here? Got my Booster Gold stuff in. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It was hilarious seeing how fast everything sold out about that book. You really have to wonder how much of that are people who are actually going to read it and how much of that are scalpers who are going to try and sell these trade collections for exorbitant prices. Speculator Market 2.0, everybody. It's here. But that is the new slate of DC films. I am excited for everything there. And let's talk about the Flash trailer. Now, obviously the big thing here is Batman. Batman's in it. Batman, he has all those suits. He has the blue cowl and the grayer suit. Ben Affleck, he has, it's like this weird mesh along his body, too, for some reason. Ben Affleck's in it. Michael Keaton's in it. Ezra Miller is in it twice. Sasha Kale is in it as Superwoman. Not Supergirl. She is Superwoman, everybody. I keep seeing people... Oh, my God. Oh, Jesus Christ. The amount of... I don't know why I still look at comments for most social media posts, especially when it regards a female comic book character. Because the first thing that I saw when I saw the new post about Superwoman is, oh, more like super lesbian, seemingly because of her haircut. And God almighty, are we as a species doomed. We are just a blight on this universe, aren't we? The Flash. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think that, obviously, Flash is going to be fucking with time. He's going to want to get his, stop his mom from getting murdered, his dad from being imprisoned, because they think that he killed her. But we see two Ezra Millers. We see two Barry Allens in the trailer. And we see seemingly... Let me check this, actually. Yeah, we see two different Flashes. Two different Flash suits in the trailer. One is the main universe, Barry Allen, played by Ezra Miller for now, who has blue lightning for some reason. And the other is this weird morph suit that is just... It makes me uncomfortable to look at. And that is the Flash with gold lightning, who we assume is going to be the other Barry Allen in the film. I think that is the villain. I think he is the villain of this film. And I think that he is Professor Zoom, Reverse Flash. In Mark Waid's run, it's Mark Waid, his run of the Wally West Flash. Spoiler alert, Professor Zoom, he fucking sort of loses his mind, gets his face reconstructed to look like Barry Allen. He thinks he's Barry Allen. He then goes back in time and impersonates Barry Allen. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think that the scene we see in the trailer of this Gold Flash, he pulls up to a house, which is obviously Barry Allen's house. And he watches young Barry Allen run outside to do something. Maybe that's when his mom dies. Maybe he's just playing. I think he's just playing because the kid looks happy. But he comes up on this house, and he looks like he sort of doesn't recognize it, or like, he has intentions that aren't all there. So I think that that is going to be Reverse Flash, probably either killing Barry's mom, or Reverse Flash doing something to fuck up the history of Barry Allen. It was me, Barry! It was me all along! Something like that, I think, is what is going to be happening here. And then that comes back again, where we meet the two Flashes. There's mainstream Barry Allen, and then there's other universe Barry Allen, who, what is he wearing? All yellow. So, I am going to just say it right now. I think that Barry Allen is the villain. I think that Professor Zoom, Reverse Flash, is going to be the villain of this Flashpoint film. Makes sense. It's based on Flashpoint. We get fucking almost exactly the same kind of situation that Superman is in the comics with Superwoman. Kara Zor-El, or whatever her name is. Probably going to take more inspiration from Power Girl, I'd imagine. That's probably why she has the short hair. They just didn't want to make it blonde. She's going to be in it. We get to see Zod coming around. And, it looks altogether very fun. But that's my main theory about this film, is that there is no real villain in it shown outright. We just see that Barry Allen fucks with the timeline, apparently, and now Michael Keaton is Batman. Superman was never there. It was his cousin, I guess, who goes to Earth, and General Zod comes around in 2013 or so. Or maybe later. Maybe he comes at a later point in time. Because I can't remember the storyline of Man of Steel very well. So maybe the fact that Clark isn't on Earth in 2013 means that Zod comes at a later point in time. I don't know. But it's going to be neat to see. It's going to be a neat film, needless to say. And yeah, I know Ezra Miller has gone off the deep end as an insane person who kidnapped people and is a maniac who threatened to murder people in a hotel room. But I'm still gonna watch it. I've been following this goddamn film for, it feels like decades now at this point. And I'm going to see this fucking movie come out so I don't have to see anything else regarding the Snyderverse ever again in film. Because once Ezra Miller's done and everything, once this film ends and The Flash is now a different actor, that's it! The only thing left is Jason Momoa, for now, and he might not even be Aquaman anymore. Maybe if he wants to, I don't know. But he's the one good one left from the Snyderverse. And then it's done. Then I don't have to think about it ever again, except for seeing the fucking maniacs online who think that it was good for some reason. Okay, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 trailer. It looks like a very sad movie. I think Rocket is going to die. I think Drax is going to die. Peter Quill, he's being carried in the trailer. That's nothing big that's going to happen. Rocket's fucking drinking a milkshake or something. You think that's going to be a big thing? Weirdly enough, almost like the trailer read my mind, I did think that I was like, why haven't Star-Lord and Nebula been a couple? Like, why didn't they get together? And then immediately after I thought that, they started talking about it in the trailer. Gamora is back. They've captured her or something. Really, this trailer doesn't give away much. It's a lot of just weird scenes that I feel like are probably going to happen fairly early on in the trailer, with a bit here and there, like the weird 2001 colored suits. I feel like that is happening because it has something to do with the High Evolutionary. We see that weird lab that everybody's walking in, and like everything's exploding. There's these dudes in weird suits. I assume that's a High Evolutionary's like genetic lab in this giant ship that is over the Counter Earth, which is what that little neighborhood is that we see Adam Warlock flying through. Whoa, almost knocked over my camera trying to scratch my foot because the cord comes all the way down here to connect to my computer over here. It's Counter-Earth. It's where there's a bunch of weird animal people, because the High Evolutionary just likes... He's fucking... he's Dr. Moreau, pretty much. So he's doing that, and I think that the Guardians are going to be either captured or something and forced to go to this little, like, microscopic sort of, like, meat that they're running on, because we see, like, hairs growing up out of them, so it's clearly skin or flesh of some sort. Maybe it's that weird little fuzzy thing that looks like a loth cat in the trailer. I think it's called like a blorp or a blorg or some shit. I feel like that's everything happening in this trailer is happening at one specific point in time, which is hanging out with the High Evolutionary. We don't see much outside of that, which is neat because, again, it's not giving away a lot. If it's any way... It's 100% going to be more emotional than Volume 2, which I cry at the end of every time I watch it. But I can... This is the Marvel film that I'm most excited for. This is the Marvel product that I'm most excited for. I'm very excited for this film, and I cannot wait. I'm going to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Spoiler alert, obviously. I loved this movie. I feel like I say that every Marvel film that comes out. I really loved it. I loved the quantum realm specifically. The design, the culture, the flora, the fauna. It's fucking awesome looking. I loved looking at it. Beautiful visuals. I wish I was high when I was watching it because that would have made it even cooler. But I just really liked all the crazy shit going on. The goddamn broccoli-headed aliens are made canon now. Although this time they're in the quantum realm rather than in space. The broccoli-headed dudes. I cannot believe they're in this. Again, it was such a weird synchronicity. Because as they were walking through the weird quantum bar, or like the fucking weird quantum like city or whatever, I thought to myself, please introduce the weird broccoli-headed aliens, or some other weird aliens that are obscure. And who the fuck should show up but the broccoli-headed dudes? That was insane. I cannot believe that. The broccoli-headed aliens, they are like the second or third enemies or villains of the Avengers. Because in the original Avengers comic, there was Loki, there was the Space Phantom, and then the broccoli-headed dude who turns them all into stone except for Captain America. The broccoli-headed people would then go on to be genocided completely by Jean Grey when she became the Dark Phoenix. So, good on their plan to hide in the quantum realm, because if Jean Grey wants to kill their entire race, she's going to have to get really small. Yeah, I really like this movie. I thought it was fine. I had no issues with the story. It's a very basic premise. Superheroes go to this weird world. They meet a dictator, and they help the weird people of this weird world overthrow it. It felt very much like a comic book storyline, where it's like, oh, it's sort of one and done-ish, but it can still leave room for sequels if people want to. It's a 4-issue story arc where Ant-Man goes to the quantum realm, and there's a mysterious dictator there who's actually Kang the Conqueror. And hey, look, he won. Ant-Man overthrew him with the help of love and fucking family, pretty much. So I don't get what everybody's big deal was. Name a better combination than people online hating a Marvel movie for not being written like a classical film, and, you know, fucking what is going on here? What do you expect? It's spectacle. It's a comic book film. It's not gonna be Citizen Kane, for lack of better, you know, examples. What do you want? Fucking the MCU movies are not going to be released in a Criterion collection, okay? So I don't understand what this bandwagon is that everybody is suddenly on, or has been on since Endgame. Oh, well, actually, I always thought that the MCU was pretty dumb and dull, and oh, now it's just superhero fatigue. Acting like people haven't been talking about superhero fatigue since 2012. Anyway, I digress. MODOK. I loved MODOK. I thought he looked incredible. The only thing that was missing was his hair. But goddamn, perfect. That's all I could say. It's the perfect recreation of MODOK in live action. He looked so good. I don't know how they really did it. I assume I don't even know. I can't comprehend how they filmed MODOK for him to work as well as he did. I assume they just filmed Corey Stoll, like his face, and then just super sort of like imposed it onto whatever animation they were working with and just worked off of him from there. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't know how, like, it just looks so fucking real, is what I'm getting at. Like, when I was looking at Scott Lang standing next to fucking MODOK, I was like, oh my god, how did they make his head so big? What sort of training regimen did he have to make his head that large and his body so tiny? Also, it's weird that we see his ass. That one little blink and you'll miss it shot of MODOK being horrifically ripped from his... Well, Darren being horrifically ripped from his yellow jacket suit and then being just entrapped in the MODOK device. It's horrific and weird. I didn't have an issue with him. I pitied him. He has a pitiful existence. Like, just stop for a second and think of what he has experienced. Like, take it at face value. Don't be like, oh, he's just written as the butt of a joke, blah, blah, blah. Think of what this man has gone through. 2015, he loses his mind due to Pym particle exposure, whatever it was. He tries to kidnap a little girl, and then Ant-Man ruins his suit, horrifically shrinks him, and mutates his body to a malformed abomination that is burnt and, like, crashes into the quantum realm. And his head is all giant still, and his body is all, like, weird and malformed and little. And he's just seemingly been burnt into this uniform, this armor. And then he's found by the worst person who could have found him, Kang. And Kang is like, I'm gonna use you as my personal attack dog. So he rips the armor from poor Darren Cross's body. Like, yeah, I know Darren Cross is a bad guy, but fucking the mental anguish and just, he is clearly mentally unkempt, for the lack of better words, I guess. He's obviously, he's not all there anymore. He has been abused, and just everything he has experienced has just taken a toll, such a toll on his mind. He is then entrapped into the suit and forced to work for Kang, who literally is just an abusive owner of this poor man who has been treated like nothing but an attack dog. It's like he's just kicking him around. When he's like, yeah, he can heist, all right. Kang fucking launches him into a wall and is like, what did I tell you about speaking when I am in the room? You are an abomination who has no right to speak in my presence. Who the fuck do you think you are, MODOK? And especially that Darren Cross has been so broken and battered by Kang and everything he's done. He's just been driven insane, even though he was already pretty insane to begin with. But just that fact that he doesn't respond to Darren Cross anymore. He's like, no, I am MODOK. I am a mechanized organism designed only for killing. That is what I am. I'm the ultimate killing machine. That is who Kang says I am. That is who I am now. I am not Darren Cross anymore. I am MODOK now. It's just so sad that just have some empathy for the guy. Treat him like think of him as a real person in this weird little universe, this pocket dimension that we've created called the MCU. I just felt so bad for him. Especially at the end when he's fighting Cassie, and, like, she talks down to him literally, because she's a giant in that scene, she's stature. Like, just don't be a dick anymore. He's like, oh my god. I am a dick. Like, that is what finally got across to him. Well, I think it's that. It's her talking to him, like, in such a way. But it's also what really broke Darren MODOK in this film is these people who were in his past life. Because ever since 2015, God knows how long that's been since in the quantum realm. Could have been like 40, 50 years, maybe. But it's these people he hasn't seen in decades, at least. And now they're back. And it's like, oh my god. I didn't used to be this monstrosity who just murders people for Kang. I used to actually have a life. I used to be a human being with normal proportions who was like, CEO of a fucking mega-million-dollar company, a multi-million-dollar company. And now I'm nothing. And it's all because of Kang, to an extent. You know, it's kind of Scott Lang's fault, but he's not the one who turned him into MODOK. That was Kang. So I did like his redemption story. I wish that they didn't kill him. I would have loved to have seen, like, you know, the portal. You know, if it wasn't a portal that went to one specific location, like, you know, if MODOK had come back and he went back through the portal to Earth and he came out in some other place, maybe, I would have loved for that to happen. I was hoping that would have happened, because I was so disappointed that they killed MODOK. Because I unironically love MODOK. I just really like him. I've read very little of him. It's just that Jack Kirby insane design that I just really always loved. How gross and off-putting he is. Something about that just really... it's like Cassie Lang in the first Ant-Man movie, where the giant ant's there, and she's like, oh my god, it's so ugly, I love it. Or no, what is it? That's not the giant ant, it's something else, I think. I can't remember. That's me with MODOK. So I was already predisposed to enjoy MODOK's presence in this film. But I thought he was great. I had no issues at all with him. Please de-age Michelle Pfeiffer and have her in a whole movie as Janet. I already said it at the beginning of the episode, which is almost 2 hours ago. I love Janet Van Dyne. Michelle Pfeiffer is so perfect as Janet. She has the spunk, she has the attitude, she has the face for it. She's so beautiful. And she looks exactly like Janet in the comics. And just de-age her, de-age fucking Michael Douglas, maybe, if you want to, or not. What you could do is have a Wasp movie. It's Janet, Hope, I guess. I never really cared for Hope, even when the first Ant-Man movie came out. I liked her well enough, but I was still disappointed that it wasn't Janet. Have them introduce Nadia, maybe. You could do that. You could easily do that. Just have the same story as what's in the comics. You already got the Red Room. And have the Incredible Wasp, or well, I don't really know what adjective was before the Wasp besides winsome. Have a Wasp movie with all three of them. It's basically what they're doing with the Marvels. But have a scene that's like, or have like part of the movie be in the past with young Michelle Pfeiffer as Janet Van Dyne in her prime. I just really want to see that, because Janet has been so wasted. She's just so perfect. Baskin Robbins Scott Lang was also perfect. I felt so bad for him when he fell off that tower. That was such a weird fucking scene. Just all the Scotts coming together. I like how prepared they are in comparison to all the Hopes, because, you know, Hope Van Dyne, she's a very forefront. She's, you know, an actual, you know, a hard worker, I guess. I don't know. She's very stable in terms of strategy, and compared to Scott, who's pretty goofy, and as such, all of his probability clones were also equally goofy. But Baskin Robbins Scott is the best. Never forget. Going back to something I loved about the Quantum Realm and how weird it was, are those living buildings. I really like the design for them. They're they're like little octopus buildings almost. But what I really liked, and what I audibly, oh god, like, you know, I audibly felt feelings for, was during the final battle against Kang's Citadel, when the buildings come up. There's a cutaway later in the battle of one of the buildings cradling another dead building in its little arms. And it was so sad. Finally, we get to Kang. Best part of the film, you know, it's neat that Kang is finally getting something cool to do, and he's, you know, outside of the Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon. That was the best Kang before this. And I just rewatched all 3 of the Kang episodes last night. There's some weird similarities between the first Kang episode. Those spinning turrets that Kang has in his citadel. Those are in that episode. And Kang is almost defeated in the Earth's Mightiest Heroes episode by Ant-Man controlling cockroaches. Whereas in the Quantumania, it's kind of Ant-Man controlling them. You know, Hank Pym, Kang being defeated almost by giant ants. I love the giant socialist ants, by the way. I loved how much of a psychotic sociopath this Kang was. It wasn't a surprise to me that I saw that, you know, he died. I saw that coming. I figured that was going to be what was happening, because every Kang we're going to be seeing is going to be a different version of Kang. So it wasn't a shock that he's killed. Just, there's another Kang around the corner. I really liked how much of a psychopath he is, specifically in the scene, well, more of a sociopath, I guess. In the scene where he has Scott and Cassie, I forgot her name, Scott and Cassie imprisoned, and he's like, which one are you again? I've killed so many of the Avengers, they just all sort of blur together. And then at the end of that conversation, he calls him Ant-Man, to prove to the audience and Scott that, yes, he has known who Scott is the entire time they've been talking. He was just using that as a way to, you know, verbally threaten Scott through his experiences as a conqueror. Like, really, dude? I have killed you. I have killed Thor. I know who Thor is. You think I don't know who Thor is? I've killed Thor 1,300 times, motherfucker. I know who you are. I am toying with you because I'm a sociopath. I really liked that, but what I really loved was the Council of Kangs. God damn, I cannot wait to get this movie on Blu-ray and just freeze frame each one and just look at all the little Kangs that are going on. There's like a werewolf Kang, there's the comic book colored Kang who's bright green, there's Immortus, Ramatut, and Iron Lad? I thought it was Iron Lad, but everywhere I look it says Scarlet Centurion, which makes no fucking sense, because he's not scarlet. He's not even red. He's blue, and his uniform, or his armor, it seemed to resemble more of Tony Stark's nanosuit armor from Infinity War and Endgame than it did the Scarlet Centurions. And also, he looked younger in this than he did, you know, in comparison to the other Kangs, which is why I assumed that that Kang was Iron Lad. If they're working towards Young Avengers, then I can definitely see a de-aged Jonathan Majors coming to appear as Iron Lad. But that is my overall discussion of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. I give it, out of 5 stars, I'll give it 4.5. I had a fun time. I really enjoyed it. Ant-Man trilogy of the MCU, honestly, I think it's my favorite trilogy. Every film is just a fun ride. You don't have to worry too much about the stakes. I really loved the ending of, oh, we're back in San Francisco, Scott's just walking down the street, and everything, he slows down, and the smile disperses from his face, and he gets that 1,000-yard stare as he wonders, what did Kang mean about the ending? And it's a great, this is the step. I guess, you know, fucking, Multiverse of Madness was the doorway to Secret Wars and Battle World and the incursions of the multiverse. This is the first step to getting there, is Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Because they talked a lot about incursions and what was coming to the universe. Which makes me believe, again, that I was 100% correct in saying that Kang is taking Doctor Doom's place as ruler of the battle world, the amalgamated worlds of all the remaining multiverses, and that's what's going to be happening. It makes sense, again, because Doom isn't going to be introduced until a couple years beforehand. I can see Doom probably being someone who overthrows Kang, possibly. Maybe it's a situation where Kang is the one who creates Battleworld and, you know, brings together all these remaining Earths to create this new universe where he rules. But then at some point in time, Doctor Doom kills Kang and overthrows him and usurps him as ruler of Battleworld. Maybe that's what's going to happen. Who's to say? Not this guy. But that brings us to the end of this episode at just under 2 hours. Again, check out Destructo Boy at my Etsy shop. Really helps me out. Let me know what you thought of Quantumania in the comments. What are your theories for where the MCU is going? I did forget to mention that the Marvels poster was released with a release date of like November. It's been pushed back, so that is cool. But what do you think? Where do you think the MCU is going? Do you think any of my crazy theories are correct? I do. Again, let me know what you think in the comments of everything I discussed here today. I will see you hopefully next week for another episode of the Comic Schtick Podcast. Have fun, stay safe, go watch Marvel movies, fucking read more comic books, read my comic books, and I will see you next time. Bye.